Today, the parlour or oak room is displayed as it appeared around 1910. At that time, it was used as an informal sitting room. But when the house was first built, this splendid room was the dining room, and it would be here that John Greame I would entertain his guests. However, if we were able to go back to 1714 to join Mr Greame for dinner in his newly built house, it would seem to us that we had arrived not for a sit-down meal, but for something more akin to a help-yourself buffet. This was dining à la Française, a dining tradition that seems to have developed in England as a result of the influence of French fashion and manners in the 17th and 18th centuries. On entering the room, the diner would be confronted by a table already laid with plates and cutlery and covered chafing dishes of food. The two main dishes would be opposite the host and hostess, and supplementary dishes placed along the sides of the table, giving us the term side dish, and at the corners, corner dishes. The food would be eaten in a series of courses, or removes as they were known. An informal dinner might have just 2 courses, but a formal one might have 4 or more. Of course, in the 18th century, just as in the 21st, dishes and menus might vary, but typically the first course would begin with 1 or 2 different types of soup. This would be served to the guests by the host and hostess. The soup would then be removed and replaced by fish or fish and roast meat, which once again would be served by the host and hostess to the diners. Guests would serve themselves or each other from the side and corner dishes, with male guests serving any ladies sat next to them. It was expected that guests would take a little of what they wanted, rather than eat all the food on the table. After the first course, the dishes would be removed and the table relaid with the entrees or second course. This was a meat course, but was distinctive because the dishes were all usually served in a sauce instead of being grilled or roasted. When the course was finished, the dishes would be removed and the table again relaid with the third course. This was the main course. Meat and vegetable dishes would be placed around the table. The principal meats, roasted, would be placed in front of the host and hostess, who would carve them at the table. The side dishes were devised to be easy to serve and required no carving. With that course over, the dishes would be removed, and the table relaid with the fourth course. This was the final course, but somewhat surprisingly, this would often start with 1 or 2 savoury dishes. These would be served to the guests and then removed and replaced by sweet dishes. Dinner parties, of course, did not always stop at 4 courses. It was not uncommon to have a further course of salad and cheese, perhaps followed by fruit and nuts. Then, after the women had left the dining room, for men to have a course of zests, piquant snacks that enhanced the gentleman's enjoyment of his port. Times and fashions change. When Yarborough George Lloyd Greame built his new dining room in 1891-2, Mrs Beeton's household management was still giving instructions about the correct way to set out a table for dining à la Française, but by then few people did so. The new à la Russe method that we still use today had become the normal. So normal that within a generation people had forgotten that there ever was an alternative way to dine. But why dining fashion changed is a story in itself, and one I shall leave for another day.